Hello guys, this is an explanation about participle clauses. So what happens with participle clauses? In English, participle clauses are mainly used in writing in order to put a lot of information into one sentence. There are three kinds of participles in English: present participle, past participle, and perfect participle. And this is what we did in class with some examples. Here I'm going to show you some clear examples. What is the function of participle clauses? Are a form of adverbial clause which enable us to say information in a more economical way. We can use participle clauses when the participle and the verb in the main clause have the same subject. And that's what we did in class. Let's see a sample. I have a sentence here. She left the house and whistled. Or, while I was waiting for John, I made some tea. In these two sentences, we have the same subject. I was waiting, I made some tea. She left the house and whistled. She whistled. So, in order to make the sentence shorter, I can say she left the house whistling. In that way, I made a participle clause. Like this. Waiting for John, I made some tea. So, in this case, in the second case, as is the same subject, while I was waiting for John, I made some tea. I make it shorter. Waiting for John, I made some tea. I didn't use the subject, the word while, and the word was. And use this. Waiting for John, I made some tea. I understand, or it is understood, that this sentence belongs to this one. It's the same subject. Like the first example. She left the house and whistled, or she left the house whistling. That means that we make economy the sentences shorter. Okay? So, participle clauses can be formed with present participle, that is the ing form, the past participle, yes, the thing form of the verb, like gone, seen, eaten. And when I use participle clauses with past participles, they have a passive meaning. You are using a passive sentence. For example, this. While Peter was shouting loudly, Peter walked home. So I don't have to write this sentence like this. Shouting loudly, Peter walked home. It's like the first example. So I united these two sentences into one using the present participle, shouting. Shouting loudly, Peter walked home. It indicates that Peter was shouting. Yeah, Peter was shouting. Another example. While Lucy shouted at Peter loudly, Peter walked home. Shouted out loudly, Peter walked home. I made another participle sentence here. Lucy was shouting at Peter, or Peter was shouted at by Lucy. Or Peter was shouted at by Lucy. Okay, so it makes this sentence shorter. And we don't have to repeat subject and repeat again the subject and sometimes the same verb. Okay, if we wish to emphasize that one action was before another, we can use the perfect participle like having and past participle. Susan won the match and then she jumped for joy. So, an action was before another action. What action happened first here? Susan won the match and then she jumped for joy. The second action is that she jumped. So I'm going to use a participle clause. Having won the match, Susan jumped for joy. So I don't say having Susan won the match and then she. That is a good sentence, but as English is always looking for economy for write shorter sentences, that's why we use this. Having won the match, Susan jumped for joy. And this makes the sentence also more objective, objectively, not so subjectively. For example, if I'm giving the news, if they're talking about the news, they use these structures because they don't focus on the subject, but maybe the action. So having won the match, Susan jumped for joy. So they don't care much about Susan, but the fact that she won and that she was happy. Another example, Peter told Susan the bad news and then she sat down and started crying. So we have two actions. One happened first and then the other. Peter told Susan the bad news. The second action, she sat down and started crying. Having been told the bad news, Susan sat down and started crying. Okay. This is what we practice Okay, let's see some examples. More examples. Meanings. The meanings of these kind of structures. Condition with a similar meaning to if condition. Looked after carefully, this coat will keep you warm through many winters. So if you compare it, you can say if you look after it carefully, this coat will keep you warm through many winters. Okay, so it has like similar meanings to this. Other meaning is the result. Okay, like saying so or therefore the bomb exploded, destroying the building. Or I can say the bomb exploded, so the building was destroyed. It's the same meaning. The bomb exploded, destroying the building. Or I can say the bomb exploded, so the building was destroyed. What happens with the first? It makes the sentence shorter. It goes directly to information. Other meaning is reason, with a similar meaning to because or since. I had no time to read my book, having spent so long doing my homework. Or I had no time to read my book because I had spent so long doing my homework. So I replaced that expression because using the structure, the participle clause. Okay, the participle clause. So if I say that, both sentences are correct. I had no time to read my book. Having spent, so when I say having spent in this case is making the sentence so short, because if nice, I had to say because I had spent so long doing, so having spent so long, that makes the whole sentence shorter. Okay, and you find this in books. You find this in when you're reading a book like a Harry Potter book or something like that. These kind of instructions are everywhere when you're reading a novel or something like that. Okay, time with a similar meaning to words like when, while, or as soon as. Like this: sitting at the cafe with my friends, I suddenly realized that I had left the oven on at home. But the normal sentence, a person will say this: while I was sitting at the cafe with my friends, I suddenly realized that I had left the oven on at home. So I make it short, saying sitting at the cafe with my friends. It is implicit that you're talking about yourself. Okay. So I'm gonna do some exercises here. For example, this: I have a cat that is called Tari. How do you change this? How do you make this sentence shorter? Like this: I have a cat called Tari. So I don't use that structure, that is. I have a cat that is called. That is correct, but you can say like in a better way, saying I have a cat called Terry. Next, the dinner was more expensive than they had expected. I can say the dinner was more expensive than expected. Okay, and this is per use. This is per use. He was accused of murder and arrested. Accused of murder, he was arrested. More examples like this: she was shocked by the bad news and burst into tears. Shocked by the bad news, she burst into tears. So you will say, but maybe you don't understand this, because shocked who? This is the same subject. So it is understood that you're talking about the same person. Shocked by the bad news, she burst into tears. Who was shocked by the news? She. And the result? She burst into tears. She was born in Hollywood and knows all the famous movie stars. Born in Hollywood, she knows. Okay? So this is used like, this is very similar to passive voice. The film is based on real events and tells the story of a reporter. Based on real events, the film tells the story of a reporter. So I hope these examples make you clear and understand it better. Let's try some more examples. We switched off the lights before we went to bed. Having switched off the lights, we went to bed. And this is the present participle with the verb in past participle. Yes, having switched the lights, we went to bed. The boy asked his mother's permission and then went out to play. Having asked his mother's permission, the boy went out to play. As he had drunk too much, he didn't drive home himself. Having drunk too much, he didn't drive home himself. Okay, so you have these examples. Let's do some more. We have written 2 tests today, so we are very exhausted. Having written 2 tests today, we are exhausted. She filled the washing machine and switched it on. Having filled the washing machine, she switched it on. She had been to disco the night before and overslept in the morning. Having been to a disco the night before, she overslept in the morning. Okay, if you need more, I can give you these links for practicing, so I'm gonna give you these links in class. Guys, I hope this explanation gives you a better idea of this topic, the participle clauses. So in class I'm going to give you a link so you can practice it, and if you have further questions, please do it in class.